Hi, my name is Azman Zulkiply, and I'm a voice actor, voice director, and I also coach voice acting occasionally. For animation, I started off with animation way back, I think 2013, 14, 15, around that time. I started with, I think the ones that I think I would say a big achievement for me would be my animated feature debut. That's Bobo Boy the movie. All right, I played the villain. I voiced the villain in that particular movie. I voiced Captain Borara. Yeah, and a few other animated series, Agent Ali, and that includes Agent Ali the movie as well. I made my, I would say, and then I got involved with No Straight Roads as the NPCs um, DJ Zam and Captain Torpedo. Yeah. Right, things that I've done before. I've done animation, animated feature, animated series, as well as video games. I think the one that I can be really proud of would be my animated feature debut. I played the villain in Bobo Boy the movie. I voiced Captain Borara in that one. I'm also in Agent Ali franchise, I would say, the series and also the movie. I'm Agent Rizwan, General Rama, as well as Victor. I'm also on a video game by Metronomic. I voice DJ Zam and Captain Torpedo, the two NPCs in that game. So yeah. Oh, if I can just shorten a long story. I mean, it started way back when I was young. I absorbed a lot of cartoons, so it's naturally for me as a kid to try and mimic all these cartoon characters. And since then, I've had this obsession into voice acting, the craft of voice acting, and I studied animation in university, and my final year project involved me having to voice my characters. So I guess from there the curiosity for the craft just grew and grew. I actually taught animation at Multimedia University in Cyberjaya, and I was actually in the middle of undergoing my master's degree, so I thought of writing about voice acting, the voice acting industry in Malaysia, and I actually discovered Voice Guild Malaysia. At that time, they were called the Voice Guild of Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. So I actually thought I wanted to contact a few voiceover persons from there, voiceover artists. I ended up joining it, and I sort of started my voiceover journey on the side, on top of me teaching at the university. And I think, that's when I sort of started walking, meeting different people in the industry, in the Malaysian voiceover industry. I think it all started from there. This is way back in 2011. Okay, the video game part. The very first video game gig I received was actually from a client in China. And here's the thing, I don't know what the title of the video game is. They just gave me like a bunch of briefs, the characters that I had to voice, and I sent it over. And at that time, I sort of assumed that it was for a mobile game. They just wanted to release it in a few different languages. So yeah, that was my first. But even though I couldn't find where it's been published and all that, but I knew that was my first involvement in video games. The next few video games that I was involved with are basically because I've been doing voice acting at different studios, and sometimes studios will get approached by different production house, video games developer, and all that stuff. So studios would call me because they know I can voice act, and then they would call me over, do some auditions, and then I got the role. And then this was for Contra Returns. I voiced like a couple of characters in there, like the main character, if I could recall. So this is purely from the recommendation of the studios. Via auditions, because I think it's by luck, I just saw, this is for No Straight Roads, I saw a Metronomic post on their socials, hey, we're looking for voice actors, and I'm like, okay, I'll just give it a go. And I got a couple of roles, the two NPCs on No Straight Roads, and then from there, it's all a bunch of recommendations. I remember Suling recommended to the developer in Singapore for Chinatown Detective Agency, so that was through recommendation. And then I think I can share the story. I during 2021, I saw on Twitter, X now, there was a call to audition. They were looking for voice actors of Asian descent, and I'm like, okay, that's me. So I just sent my reel, and I didn't think too much of it until I got like an email. I received an email like a year or 2 years later or something like that, and then they were said, oh yeah, you've been shortlisted. And I was like, when did I send this? But yeah, it turns out it is for Wulong Fallen Dynasty. So I was like, yo. And the funny thing is, I didn't know that was for Wulong Fallen Dynasty. I was shortlisted, and then a second round of audition was run, and then I got the role of the Nameless Soldier, which is the character that you control in the game. So for me personally, that's a huge thing to be able to voice in this particular video game by Team Ninja. Yeah, I like that question. For video, sorry, I'll start with animation. For animation, the story is relatively linear. You know, I mean, in a typical story, there's good guy versus bad guy. Bad guy loses at the end. The good guy wins. So oftentimes, if I were to voice, let's say the bad guy, I voiced the villain in Bobo Boy, I know I would be the one laughing maniacally. I know I would be the one who would kill, and there's no remorse. I know at the end of the day, I would die or I would get defeated. And all those are already pre-written, and you know what's going to happen. So it's really straightforward. Like compared to video games, and this depends on what kind of video games. Sometimes, like let's say for instance, the Chinatown Detective Agency, my role was basically to help narrate the story. So it's basically narration. So essentially, fundamentally, it's still voice acting. It's the same as for animation. But what if it's for a video game where there's a character that the player would control? So let's say if you're controlling the main character, the hero, right? So unlike an animation or animated feature or an animated series, there would be instances where the hero would be killed halfway through the game. So you as the voice actor, you would have to record all these instances of the character meeting their demise, all these death sound that you have to record all that. And you also have all these different instances of efforts, like you have the light punch, heavy punch, or you getting punched or getting hit. So there's a light and medium and intense sort of you getting all hits from all your enemies. So you have to cover all of those instances. Same like if you're voicing the boss. Yeah, at the end of the day, the objective is to defeat the boss, but there are times where the boss would win mid-battle before you as the player have to restart. So the boss would also have to record all these victory taunts, stuff like that. And I would also like to highlight the NPCs. Sometimes when you play and then you would meet the NPC in the middle of the game somewhere, in the middle of a village or whatever, you know, if you bump into them, you would say, hey, how are you? And stuff like that, right? And then if you bump into them and then it's a slightly annoyed tone, for example, and if you do it again, they will like, oh, all right, stop it, or I'll you know, whatever. They got angry and angrier. So they in the video game, you have to cover all those different instances, which I feel is super fun. Yeah. Oh, man. Challenges would be, I think it's to how do you want to make yourself out there? How do you want to, you have to make sure that your name is out there. You have to be so consistent at the start so that people will remember your work. So you just have to really go at it that first 3-4 years so that you basically have to build your own reputation. And how do you do that is just constantly try your best to do good work every time you get like a recording session. So that's the first challenge. And voice acting is a team effort. You'll be working with the writers, producers, directors, voice directors, all that. You have to be able to listen to direction and work with it. It's not really just about you. You know, you just gotta work together with the director. Okay, the director has a certain vision on a certain scene, and you have to be able to follow the direction. And there are other technical things that I would say that you would have to, have as a voice actor, like be able to listen to yourself as you direct, because being able to listen to yourself as you record, because it is so that you can give different takes and all that things. So these are parts of the challenges, and being able to receive criticism too. Like people will say, "Oh, that's not so good." Okay, how do you go about that? And you have to be quick creatively. Sometimes you receive scripts on the same day. You don't have time to study the script. How would you interpret the script as you come into the studio? So you just have to be quick creatively. You just have to come up with several different ideas to interpret one scene. And if that idea it doesn't work, how do you reinterpret it? So I think you just have to be fast creatively, being able to follow directions, work with everyone else, and keep at it with your journey. Just maintain that lane, and just don't give up, Can you pursue this career online with a humble setup? I would say yes, as long as, if that microphone can record clean, then you're good to go. And if the room is acoustically treated, it doesn't have to be professional. I've seen a lot of voice actors locally and internationally where they started in a wardrobe with shirts all around, as long as it treated it's not echoey or it's clean. I think you can start with a humble setup, and that's how I started. Really, if you ask me, I would want a safety net. I actually started doing this on top of having a 9-to-5. So I had a 9-to-5, and I did voice acting on the side. And eventually that career grew. So what I earned from my voice acting career is slightly more, and it gets more and more from my 9-to-5. So that was actually when I decided I'm going to go full time. I would advise maybe have a bit of a safety net on the side. You can start anytime. You can start online, but have a bit of a safety net. If you have the curiosity for this craft, and if you want to apply it, and if you have the equipment, and it could start from a phone, and if you want to start recording, do your own content. To start out in this voice acting industry, for me at least, I started with a whole bunch of curiosity. I'm curious about how it works in the studio. So if you have that sort of curiosity into this craft, and if you have something to record with, go ahead, try out. If you want to make content out of it, go ahead, try out. And I think it's just a matter of starting and find out what else this industry is all about. Find out the people who did this, and if there are some opportunities for you to meet these people, I would say meet them, ask questions. And I think that's how I got myself started. I remember meeting a few of these voiceover artists who are now my colleagues, which I can just name them, Stephen Bones and Su Ling Chen. I met them, asked for a few advice, and it was a useful advice, and I took it to heart, and I used it, and then my career didn't take off or whatever, but it was just there. I was just maintaining my lane. Start recording your reel. Send it to studios. If a studio started giving out call to auditions, give it a go. All that stuff. Basically, if you have interest in it, start. And I know starting is hard, but it's a matter of that small things that you do. Maybe you can start recording yourself. Maybe you can find someone to ask more questions. Find a community online. Maybe they could help. Maybe they could answer your question. All that stuff. I think it's all a matter of finding it, asking, all that stuff. Start.